So today we're going to be talking about Mega Fortris IPO, and here are some of the details that you need to know. So number one, it is that their closing date for their IPO is on the 28th of October 2024, 5 p.m. So if you want to subscribe to their shares, make sure to get it before that date and time. Now, here are some of the quick summary on the details. So number one, their share price is at 67 cents a share. Number of shares is about 845 million, and the market cap is $500 million, which is 566 million. And interestingly, their PATAMI for FY 2024 is about 19 million, and this is quite a premium valuation at 29 times.
So we will be discussing at the end whether we think it's fair and, some of the investment merits.
Yeah. Okay, so before that, if you are interested to subscribe to their IPO, you can do it with Mumu. And if you haven't signed up with Mumu, make sure to use our link in the description and comments. And when you deposit 1,000 ringgit, make sure to key in this code FIRL24 so that you can get a 40 ringgit cash voucher. Okay, so up to the business. So what do they do, MJ?
So today we are rotating the roles. Today he will be the host. I will be sharing some of my research. So in essence, they are this thing called security seal specialists with a side of trading services. So what is a security seal? In essence, it's a device designed to let you know whether something has had any unauthorized access. Some people call this tampering. So that's the first thing, right? It's there to prevent or at least notify people of tampering. Now, what it looks like, we'll show you later on. Number two, linked to number one is regulation, right? They are involved in many, many different industries like logistics, retail, petrochemicals, F&B, agriculture, travel, leisure, and hospitality. But even other industries like healthcare and finance is also part of it. Now, linked to number two is tracking. Some of these seals have barcodes, have certain softwares that you can use where it provides a record to let you know when it was sealed, and of course by whom it was sealed as well. And then number four, as you can see earlier on, they are involved in many, many different industries. It's so useful for just about everything. Anything that is physical related, you have.
Their customer base are very diversified.
The company, but as a whole, the seals are just very multi-purpose. If you're interested in finding the next multi-bagger among small and hidden companies, then you need to check out our upcoming webinar happening on the 28th of October, 8:30 p.m. Links to sign up in the description or comments. So then they have another thing which is more linked to the gaming segment of their business. This has to do with load securement products, among other things. Of course, it's not all just gaming. So we have that as well. But this is a smaller part of the business. So you can take a pause to see what products they have, and later on we'll go into the breakdown. So the big six, right, is plastic seals, container seals, cable, bar, electronic seals, and then you have the others. So the trading services part, a lot of it is here, right? Security bags, security boxes, things like that. Now on your right, there's a level of security when it comes to their seals, and a lot of these products that they have are patented, so they have that sort of barriers to entry as a business. So yeah. So we look at the product breakdown. 113, majority of them are plastics, followed by cable 28, and then container 25. So on your right, you can see here ISO standards, and this is another barriers to entry. This is security related, and they are also, later on I'll show the details, but they also export to places like Europe and the United States, which on average have higher and more stringent policies, especially when it comes to security related stuff. And of course, fun fact or important fact, they have 19 industrial patents.
That's a lot.
Yes. So this is the rough percentage and number breakdown for the business. So if you look at the trading side, it's, it hovers roughly 25, 26%
Yep.
as of the latest numbers. And then the big chunk, of course, is the manufacturing of the seals and all that. You can see plastic is the
The
biggest.
number one. Yeah, the biggest one.
So take a pause to see their history. They've come a very, very long way, especially Dato Adrian. He has been in the industry for multiple decades, and we'll go into a little bit about his life story later on. Too busy to find stock ideas? Check out FIRL Pro to shortcut your research time and effort by 90%. 10% off, link in the comments and description. So, here is the numbers, and Jonathan, you did some of the numbers, right? You just want to share with us a little bit.
Yeah, so this is the sales volume breakdown for their two main business segments. So number one is their in-house design and manufacturing of security seals. The other one is their trading business. So you can see that obviously the plastic seals, the one that contributed the most in terms of revenue, right? Yeah, you can see the sales volume also is growing. But in 2021 to 2023, there was a slight decline. But after that, it rebounds back off. I think that was post-COVID. So everything is becoming normalized, right? So yeah, that we are seeing a good recovery from there. However, we're looking at container, cable, and security. This one, it is still on the downtrend at the moment. But yeah, later on, we also will be looking at the average selling price for each of these seals. Sure. Trading business, so far, it looks pretty good. I mean, I think their gaming side is doing very well.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And so I think one thing that we want to highlight is their seals are actually partially biodegradable. So I think that is a step in the right direction, especially when it comes to ESG. Now, in terms of the segments, you can take a pause.
Yes.
And I think the big one here to notice are the plastic seals, right?
Yeah, so the average selling price, even though they manufacture the most, but the average price is the lowest. So you can see the container and cable and also security bags are the one that has the highest in terms of
net
ASP.
It's still the largest revenue contributor. But if you notice, and this is a key theme for Mega Fortris, yes, the biggest is plastic seals, but it's not bigger by that much, which is a sign of their diversity when it comes to products, which we will share a little bit more later on. So the based on geography, what caught your eye?
Yeah, so this one is, you can see the key difference. It looks the same actually on picture, but if you look at the number over here, right, they actually manufacture a lot of plastic seals in Malaysia, as opposed to in the foreign countries, your EU, your US, and all those parts of the countries. Yeah, this is actually what caught my eye. That they have and I think that makes sense also because they have a manufacturing facility in Malaysia.
Yep.
That's why they manufacture more over here. But in their prospectus, they say that they want to expand to UK, right? Yeah. So we shall see whether the number of sales volume will bump up over here. Okay, so this one is the difference in ASP for foreign and Malaysia. You can see that foreigners one, it is higher.
Quite a bit bigger actually.
Yeah, it is like for cable seals, it is actually like more than 10 times. Yeah. So that's a fun fact.
Which is also why they want to, I mean, part of the reason why they want to expand into
UK. Yeah, that makes sense.
UK, yeah, but we'll share more later on. Okay, so this is the growth. So just take a pause and you can see. Security bags is a bit of a split, but anyways. So some crucial info. They have 12 offices in 12 countries, one manufacturing in Malaysia, the UK, and Macau on the way. Now, the key thing you have to understand here among all these 4 pieces of information, which I think is the most important, is they're actually a top 3 global player. Who knew that Malaysia would be home to big players? And there's at least, there's more than 15 players, both when you combine Malaysia and abroad. So it's no small feat. And of course, another fun fact, nearly 550 million pieces a year they generate and manufacture. So the industry, as I mentioned earlier on, or their customer base, that's probably a more accurate description, transportation, logistics, petrochemicals, F&B, leisure / hospitality / gaming, retail, government, and others, and then resellers. So I want to highlight here, and others here means actually the combination of the above. I'm not quite sure why there is this distinction, but yeah, something for you to take note of. So you might be wondering, how do these different industries use these seals and all this other stuff, right? So number one, in terms of logistics, container security. So when you're looking at trailer doors and things, that very, very, very important, right? They have the usage of barcodes, etc. Petrochemicals, you have hazardous materials, things like valves and all that. It needs to be secured so that there is a prevention of leaks or tamper. Anyone decides to put stuff inside these materials. 3, F&B, food packaging. So this would be in terms of containers / bottles, and then agriculture would be fruits and vegetables mainly, but not exclusively. Retail, this one is high value items and mainly electronics and jewelries. But another cool aspect you can use, a cool way you can use seals is to manage your inventory. So each seal has their own code. So you want to know which one went in first, like inventory management, there's first in, first out, last in, first out, things like that. And of course, organizing.
Yeah, that's a very good value added service by them.
It is. So then, of course, the 5th one, which is the exciting one, and again, more later on, leisure and hospitality. How they use this? Well, many different ways, plus guest belongings, event securities. But of course, in their case, it's also the packaging and boxes for playing cards. So again, more later on. So of course, the next one, government and others. This one I can't really get a specific answer for government, but my guess is they are related to the municipal and city councils of Malaysia. So this is Majlis Bandaraya and things like that. MITI, and the reason is because they have licenses with them as well.
In one of the news also, the founders also, not founders, Dato Adrian also got mentioned that they were related to, they are the one who supplied the seals when there's an election. The box. Plastic bags.
Yeah. And of course, I think government here doesn't just mean Malaysia, it also means others. For example, we have fire departments for US townships and, things like that. Okay, so here are the end users divided by industry. So you can see the sectors / industries are quite diverse. So as I said earlier on, there's diversity in the products, but there's also diversity in the industry. So you can see, even though transports and logistics are number 1, close behind would be petrochemicals. And in fact, if you look at the trend, transport and logistics are generally a small way down, and then petrochemicals are seeing a very nice uptick. So other industries like F&B, retail, leisure are also going up. Others as well, whereas government's a bit flat with distribution declining a little bit. So the one key theme of the company is diversity. They have product diversity. They have
geographical diversity.
Industry / sector diversity, and they also have regional diversity, right? And what I like about that diversity, because technically, if you sell one product to every country, you have all 100 over or 200 countries, giving you revenue, right? But sometimes it can be skewed for a lot of businesses. Like one country will take up a huge chunk. But as you can see here, Asia, Pacific, Europe, and Americas are so nicely divided. This is very rare in my opinion, because they have 3 levels of diversity, and I find that quite amazing.
And it's also showed that their TAM is very, very wide, their total addressable market. So there's always room for growth in the future for their business.
Yes, and I think the one key area, or maybe 2 to 3 areas that they haven't really gone full throttle with, would be Middle East and Africa, plus, of course, Macau, which they are already planning to do so. So this is the granular breakdown of their customers by region. Now, I find this really amazing because we've read who knows how many prospectors, and rarely do we see this sort of breakdown. So kudos to the team. So these numbers are from 2021 to 2024. You can see the standout performers are Malaysia and then Hong Kong as well. But even those that are not the first or second fastest growers are still growing very good. Right? See, the lowest is Singapore at 26%. Whereas Europe paints a slightly different picture. Denmark and Hungary is on a big downtrend, but then you can see places like France and the UK really picking up the slack. And then the UAE, even though it's quite a bit smaller, is still growing at 40%. Then when we look at breaking down the customers by
industries,
end user or industries, you can see Europe is suffering in transportation, reselling, and petrochemicals. But then when it comes to others, suddenly there's a big pickup. And of course, that's the biggest chunk, right? But net, you can see, as you can see here, transport and logistics is a bit down. So when you go into Asia Pacific, slightly better, but transport and logistics is also down. So this is, maybe something we want to investigate a little bit more. But leisure, 216%. Huge jump. Exciting. When you go to the Americas, the two big ones, transportation and others. So in this area, you can say the Americas are picking up Europe and Asia's slack. Then when it comes to the Middle East, of course, the standout is also transportation and logistics. But you can see as a whole, it's only about 9 million ringgit, right, on a sale of 166. Africa, even smaller at 4.7 million. But of course, they have something very, very interesting, which is the F&B side that is growing. So we spoke to our research team. We found that F&B or in Africa in general, right, you need more security. That is not merely a stereotype, it's a fact. So that's why this area is also another
potential area to grow.
Correct. So earlier we mentioned some patterns. Here's a deeper breakdown. So on the left are patterns, and on the right industrial designs. This is a key pillar for their business, especially when they go into new markets. So you can also make some sort of correlation as to which areas they are more active in. You can see places like Malaysia,
Central and
Macau, the Americas, plus the US, right, is some core areas. And you can see Europe as well. So what are they going to do with the IPO money?
Before you go, right, this is the simplest utilization of proceeds that I have actually gone through.
It's literally every company
only one line, because if you exclude the listing expenses, right, it's technically they use it just for one purposes only.
Exactly. So you can see, right, why they want to go into the UK. That's the first one, is because they want to use it as a base to expand into the West, mainly the West and the Near East. 60% odd sales are exports. And the word they use in the prospectus is they want to decentralize, their factories, because they have one in Malaysia, which obviously serves the world, but maybe they want that to be more oriented to Asia Pacific. Now, the Macau one is what we call a mathematics game. It's just our way of saying, cards and casinos, gaming, things like that. So the UK one, why they need an upgrade, I think it's quite clear. You can see the difference. What they have now in the UK is, I don't know what's the word we want to use for this brick.
Very brown. Now it's very grey.
Now it's very grey, right? And a lot bigger, right? And I think there's 2 stories instead of 1. It looks like it's just 1 story in the UK. So you can see they're really ramping up. But not inside the IPO proceeds, but they're going to use internally generated funds to expand and improve the automation of their Malaysia factory. They're spending about 12.4 million, divided somewhere, almost equally between new machineries and then, site preparation, installation works and things like that. So, take a pause to see what they're going to do with the mathematic game and how they're going to do it. But briefly speaking, they want to be a total solution when it comes to supplying and handling playing cards in sealed security boxes. So the security seals will have, the security box will be the box, and then there's also the cards, but also the dividers you can see. Right? There's more to it, but that's basically it. So a bit more details on the gaming side. It's currently only about 6% of revenue, and what we hear is that they want it to be closer to 30%. Precisely what they can do, I already mentioned earlier on. They want to manufacture paying cards, seals, security boxes, separators, and they're also doing delivery and tracking software as well. So that's pretty cool. Some of their customers, 39 casinos, mainly Macau, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia. They're also intending to go into Australia, Thailand, and Japan next. Now, if you look at the pictures below, on the left is MGM, which is Macau, and then on the right picture is their Philippines customers. But the keyword of this is end-to-end product lifecycle management of playing cards, and that's what they want to be. So, what is the timeline for all of this? Number one is actually Malaysia, right? Q2 this year, 2024, which means they've already started, to Q4 next year, would be Malaysia focus, and it's only the end of 2027 where we can start to see the Macau gaming side come into bigger fruition. How they're going to do it, they're going to have a subcontractor called V.S International Group where they will actually handle the manufacturing and handling of cards, whereas this Mega Fortris will focus on purchasing, delivering, commissioning, and installation. So this is the rough breakdown of how they are going to, start this new venture. But you can see here, the Malaysia side is mainly through borrowings or internal funds, whereas when it comes to the Macau side, which is stage 2, that's IPO proceeds. So, Jonathan, share with us about the team, but I think the two key guys right now, especially in terms of operation, would be Dato' Adrian and Jason Francis
White.
White is the whitest name I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But looking good and young. I think both of them look really young.
Yes, exactly. So here are some of the insights about their background. So number one is Dato' Nick Ng, which is just now in the previous slide.
On the left.
On the left one. Yeah, so he is the elder brother. So if you guys didn't know, Dato' Nick Ng and also Dato' Adrian Ng are brothers. So Dato' Nick, it is the elder brother, and he worked in the family business for quite a number of years. And also after he did that side of the business, he also had a lot of personal business venture. He's quite an entrepreneur. So he's sold firefighting equipment, trade fruits, organized tours, and also he did a Feng Shui consultancy. Then,
very colorful.
Yeah, it's a lot. Then in 1998, Dato' Adrian Ng persuaded the elder brother to join Fortris Malaysia. And yeah, that's how it started. Then Dato' Adrian Ng, he's the younger brother. He also worked before in the family business. But after a few years, he decided to come out and he worked for 2 different companies. Then interestingly, after that, he traveled overseas for 1 year.
I have never seen this in the prospectus where they tell people, hey, I'm on
a sabbatical.
Self-discovery.
But technically, it's not really a sabbatical because he got said that he went to overseas to find for business opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah. So he specifically got said that. Then after that, he joined Fortris Malaysia in 1995. And he actually got proposed to venture into security seal business. So that's how they can actually spearheaded. And he actually is the one that spearheaded business into UK.
Okay.
So yeah, that is his contribution. Kudos. Then the third one is Ng Weng Choi. He's a HR business development, accounting background. He's quite of the early guys who joined the Fortris Malaysia. In 1996. Then the last guy, which is the CEO, the operation guy. COO. Jason Francis White. He has 24 years in production and operation, and he worked for 4 different companies that is actually in South Africa. And South Africa is quite a dangerous country to work in.
Yes. So the fact that he was there
and he survived,
it's
a very tremendous, it's a good experience. And now he's in Malaysia.
Shareholding.
Yeah, so this one, you can see that the major shareholder is Mega Fortris Global, and we'll see what's the breakdown. So actually, there's 3 key components over here. Number one is Mega Fortris Global. So if you look at over here, right, they own about 100% shares in Mega Fortris. Now, if you look at the breakdown, is Mega Fortris Capital, which is owned about 59.23%. Ng Brothers Estate, 14.78%. And then OCBC and LOCAH own respectively 9.45% and 16%. Then you go to another further breakdown for Fortris Capital. You will notice Dato'
Nick
Ng
is the major.
He owned close to 70%. Dato' Adrian Ng owns about 25%. And then if you look at the breakdown for Ng Brothers Estate, they own about 14.7% 14.78%, which is split between Datuk Nick Ng and so Datuk Adrian Ng. But one key thing that you need to know is that they bought this stake from EDBI, and it is bought for 75 million ringgit. And they use loan as well as RPS to acquire it. So
Yes.
this is a crucial note that you need to know is they use loan to buy
so
the stake.
but then we will show later on why in our opinion the risk of this is not as bad as say CEB, mainly because it's about 15%.
Yeah, exactly. So dividends, they have a target dividend policy to pay out 30% of their profit. So these are the past dividend declaration and also the payout that they have done over the years. Remuneration,
Quite fair. I remember it's about 10% of current
10-15%.
PATAMI,
Yes,
right,
yes.
or profits after minority interest.
Exactly. So this one, it is still pretty decent remuneration. Now, industry.
Yeah, you guys can take a pause. I won't go through everything, but in essence, how they measure themselves in terms of the market that they're in, a lot of it is you can see merchandise exports, global container port throughput based on Europe, United States, Asia. So they're like everywhere. So very often when we see prospectus, it's always like just one chart. But because they are so diverse, they have to show us like four charts in one cluster.
Yeah.
So casino revenue is also very linked. Now the key thing you can compare is if you look at the others like container throughput exports and all that, the growth is usually mid-single digits or low single digits. But when you start to see the casino revenue and gaming revenue side for both Macau and Philippines, you see quite a bit bigger, right? But unfortunately, they got a hit in during COVID.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, the numbers were a lot better in 2019, and so they're actually hoping to get back to their own number and surpass it, which would make the company, the profits would be a lot higher than just 19 million. So this is the peer comparison. As we said earlier on, they are the top 3 largest in the world. But in Malaysia, they have 4 other competitors, and they are by far the largest, right? In terms of revenue, they are also, in terms of margin, probably one of the best up there. And then if you look at the foreign companies, there's more than 10, maybe even more than 20. My eyeballs, right? Companies. So you take everything together, there's at least 25, close to 30 companies worldwide, and they're top 3. So when you look at numbers, this is the profitability, right? Whether you're looking at PAT, whether you're looking at gross profit or EBITDA, it's a pretty decent uptrend. Now, cool fact about their sales, which is not here, over the past 20 years, they've actually managed to grow their top line by 14%, means every 5 years they double. That's actually quite impressive. Now, in terms of costs, no surprise, the two that takes up the biggest, almost 70%, is staff costs and directors' remuneration. So this is the key things that you want to look at when it comes to cost. Now, how about operating leverage or in terms of ROIC? Now, here's one of the few numbers that I feel that it's in the right trend, but not at the level that I would like it to be. My personal favorite is always 15 to 20%, but you can see compared to 2021, it has doubled in terms of ROIC. But if they do return to pre-COVID numbers, then one can expect them to hit the areas that I like, 15 to 20%. But the trend is in a good way. Now, when it comes to balance sheet, it's okay, right? They don't swing net cash or net debt in a very extreme way. So not much comment about that. Cash flow, if you exclude 2024, both operating and free cash flows
are pretty much on track.
Which means the capex is not very, very big. Now, why is the capex big 2024? If you recall, the UK the Malaysia expansion has already started, right? Q2 2024.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other things as well. Now, we go into the investment merits. Now, what are some of the things that we feel is pushing the company forward? Number one, diversity. There's no customer and geography risk. And in fact, one thing I should have added here would also be the industry or end user risk. Product. Product. They have many, many different products. Of course, they're the third largest security seal player in the year, in the world. Number 3, the business is very non-cyclical, right? It doesn't matter recession or no recession, you still need security seals and boxes. Maybe the gaming side might drop a little bit, but
other sectors can cover. Yeah.
A lot of what they do is pretty recurring and all backed by patents. So there's a lot of security in the cash flows, which leads into this thing called barriers of entry. Of course, it's not just the patents; it's also the ISO standards as well. Now, in terms of what there's no CEB, if you all follow the news, CEB was a company where the share price tanked a lot because the owners actually pledged their shares, right, using loans and all that. Yeah. So, and of course, Mega Fortris is also doing the same, but the big difference is that theirs is sub 15%, whereas CEB was 54%. So I'm not sure how much the share price dropped, also about 50 over percent.
Actually, it's more than that because everybody panicked, right? So it's like 60, 70%. But this one you also need to take note on the assumption that because the Cape CMS, the bosses, they didn't allocate their capital that well. That's why it resulted a tank. So assuming Mega Fortris don't do anything like that will affect their margin, then I think they'll be fine. Yeah.
So the last couple of things would be gaming. As we showed the numbers, it's going up, and then as a whole, travel has been recovering quite well. So travel is quite closely related to gaming, right? A lot of times, especially people from China, when they travel, a big chunk of their activities is gambling. And this is purely our subjective opinion. When our team spoke to Mega Fortris, we don't get the sense that the founders are exiting. So one key is, of course, when they talk about the business, we can just feel the passion. But when you look at what they are doing, one thing that's very rare is that they are moving beyond the IPO proceeds to expand the business, right? It's also internally generated funds / borrowings. I don't know what's your opinion, but typically you don't see something like that. It's usually just IPO proceeds.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
And of course, Dato is still young. I'm referring to Dato, Adrian, right? And Jason as well. Right?
And also one key thing that I didn't highlight during their utilization of proceed is that you notice they only use it for their capex, even though they have a lot of debt in their balance sheet. So this is actually another crucial point to dig deeper into the CEO's mind or COO's mind, that they have the capability to actually, they are confident in a way to say that they can allocate the capital very well.
There you go. However, we have some thoughts that we should all marinate on. The first is the ROIC. Can they actually hit those numbers that I mentioned? It's very difficult for a company to hit 15-20% ROIC, but as I said, they return to 2019 numbers is very much possible. Number 2, which is actually the biggest risk, which is China. When it comes to manufacturing, China will always be a risk, and there's almost nothing that if they want to do it, you can't really stop it. But there's something that's kind of shielding Mega Fortris from this, which is that they're operating in Europe and the US, where, of course, they're not as friendly to China as they were maybe 10 years ago. Plus, the standards and restrictions there and the regulations is a lot tighter and more stringent.
And as well as the value-added service that they provide.
Yes, so that also helps with like the scanning barcodes and things like that, software. Now, the third one, which is something that's on a lot of people's mind, is 29 times Patami fair. This one really depends on a couple of things. A, can they continue to grow the seal business and have all their cylinders firing, especially when it comes to end users? So we can see, most of them are doing well, some are a bit flat, down a little bit. So if we can get those going up, I think that's one pillar. The second pillar would be the gaming side, and this is a bigger pillar. So if you don't believe in the gaming story, then maybe you have the right to think that the valuation is not fair. But if you do believe in the gaming side, if you do believe leisure and travel and gaming is coming up, then that's where you can start to appreciate the valuation more.
So one thing to explain on the 29 times PE, you can actually use the discounted cash flow model to explain it. So
Yes.
it consists of your earnings growth and also your discounted rate. So what this 29 times tells us is that Mega Fortris can actually grow their earnings growth for around like 1 to 7% in the next few years. And then, but this is assuming their discount rate, it is following the risk-free rate, which is around 4%. You can add 3% of the fixed deposit plus maybe 1% risk premium.
Yep.
Or if let's say you can also apply at a higher discount rate if you think that they are a risky business.
Yeah.
But so far they're pretty diversified. So I think it's unfair to put it under a very risky segment. So I think 4% is just nice. So 4% discount rate and 1 to 7% earnings growth. So if they can hit this number consistently every single year, right, then the valuation is fair.
Of course, that's where the uncertainty comes in, right? So far, they've been able to do better than that, right? 20 years, 14%. But of course, this is starting at a smaller base from 20 years ago. I'm not saying they cannot do it, but as an investor, it's best to assume that it will be a bit lower than that. So again, I think 7% is the key, right? If you can hit 7%, then
it depends on your margin of safety.
Correct. So if you feel like you need to see more, it's all about your own standards, right? If you listen to what John says, 7%, you might say, no, I want 10%. So then you ask yourself, okay, is 10% possible for this company, whether it's realistic or not?
Yeah, if it's 10%, their price to Patami shouldn't be at 39, it should be much lower actually.
Yeah, exactly. The forward one.
Yeah, the forward one. Yeah.
Of course, then this part about promoting the company since 2018. So I think they got stopped by COVID, right? They actually wanted to list earlier, but
our educated guess is they want to list because they go through like a few interviews like the BFM and also one of the news article that I cannot remember, but yeah, they have been promoting their company since 2018.
Yep. So takeaway, our sense is they are serial. Actually, it's not our sense; it's a fact. They are serial executors. You don't grow 14% for 20 years without being capable. And number two is their growth is quite stable and secure because recession-proof, very, very diverse in the three ways: product, geography, and end user. They are the third largest security seal player in the world. That's nothing to be laughed at. Manager, again, this is our subjective sense. They are not exiting. They are really serious into building the business. And of course, they are young. So you have that as well. Number 5, the improved efficiency, which is ROIC, is improving, but not perfect, or at least to what I like for now. But I'll always be paying attention whether they can hit this number, and I'm hoping that they do. Number 6, valuation to us is fair, but we have to put asterisks, assuming that the gaming side, I think the gaming side is the key. If the gaming can do well, then we think the valuation is fair. And you have China. Right? This is going to be the biggest risk and biggest unknown, and we always have to prepare for this.
Yeah.
And that will be it for the video. But before you go, a reminder on Mumu. If you want to hop onto the IPO, what are the instructions?
Yes, so we actually film a video on how you can get it the step by step, and make sure to key in our code FIRL24 when you deposit 1,000 ringgit, because you can get a free 40 ringgit cash reward. And if you're interested to subscribe to Mega Fortris, make sure to use Mumu.
Make sure to do it before the 28th.
Yes.
So just a short update, guys. We will be having a price increase for FIRL Pro. So if you want to hop onto that, please get it before the end of October. Maybe we'll give you some chance if it's early November. Okay, we'll see. What is FIRL Pro? Well, in essence, it's something to shortcut your investment research journey, because we're all very, very busy. So with just 15 odd minute write-ups, you get to understand an entire company, or at least the main points. And then, it just gets you from not, discovering the idea to making a decision a lot faster. You get a taste of what it looks like. You can check out our free sample. And with that, guys, hope you are educated well about Mega Fortris. Let me know if you plan to subscribe to the IPO in the comment section, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.